Well, this is All Out Politics, news, debate and opinion from the heart of Westminster. Well, first he was a Conservative MP, then he was UKIP's only Member of Parliament, and now he's an independent. But what next? Douglas Carswell quit UKIP at the weekend, declaring job done as Theresa May prepares to trigger the Brexit process. Welcome to you, Douglas Carswell. I've got to ask you, first of all, when you moved from the Tories to UKIP, you felt honour bound to fight a by-election. Yep. You've now moved out of UKIP to independence. Why not another by-election?
I'm a big believer in accountability and recall. I believe in it so strongly I recalled myself, but I'm not switching parties. If you think about it, if every time...
You're leaving a party.
Yeah, I'm not switching parties. Key point, I'm not submitting to the authority or the whip of a new party, therefore I don't need permission. Think about it, if every time an MP resigned the whip or lost the whip, there was a by-election, far from strengthening the hand of the voter against the party bosses, it would actually give the party bosses an incredibly powerful weapon. And that's why I've always been very consistent on this point. There's no reason why you should, but I've written extensively on the subject of when you should face a by-election. And when you're switching parties, you should. If you're simply resigning the whip from a party, you should not.
Not sure everyone will follow that, but you made that very clear. So what are you going to do now? Because a lot of people think at the next election you may well stand as a Conservative.
Well, the key thing is Wednesday. I have been driven in politics by the idea of getting us out of the European Union. Theresa May we can trust to deliver on what Vote Leave wanted, which is a sensible separation from the European Union, but one that allows us the international optimistic vision of the country.
So at the next election, given that you like Theresa May and what she's doing, will you be rejoining the Conservative Party?
No, I mean, if you actually look at what I've been saying in a book I've got coming out in a few days, called Rebel, it's actually a verb rather than just a noun.
Oh, rebel.
Rebel.
Right.
It's urging people, and it's how to do it. I think we've got in this country a political cartel. I was going to say it's a duopoly. It's actually turning into a bit of a monopoly, and I don't really want to join the stodgy monopoly. Our economy is basically run in the interests of an oligarchy, and I think we need far-reaching reform.
So, just make this clear, hand on heart, you are saying I am not going to rejoin the Conservative Party.
I'm not planning on it, but 3 years is a very long time. No plans. But
as we know in politics, leaves the door open.
3 years ago, the world looked very different to what it looks like now. I'd be foolish to say definitively yes or no to all options.
There are those who say that all along your joining UKIP was basically a plot to try and undermine Nigel Farage.
The idea that this was secretive or underhanded is nonsense. I've been very, very open about the fact that Euroscepticism could only win a referendum if it was upbeat, positive and international.
So you did join in order to blunt the impact of Nigel Farage, who you see as a negative figure.
I think I proved in Clacton that actually being optimistic and the sort of negative Britain's gone to the dogs version of Euroscepticism can't even win a parish council seat in Essex. You need, if you want to be a sensible Eurosceptic and win a referendum, to actually portray your arguments and frame your arguments in a way that appeals to the majority.
So where do you stand? Do you think Britain will be better off if we don't get a deal and we end up on world trade terms?
Ultimately, WTO terms were created to facilitate trade and end insularity and protectionism.
Yeah.
So I think there's nothing to fear from this.
Trading bloc.
But there's nothing to fear from that. China, when China joined the WTO, that's what really triggered globalization. WTO terms are actually good for economic independence.
But you think globalisation is a good thing, then, do you?
Of course. Look at the mobile phone that you have. It's a product of globalisation. Look at the higher standards of living we have. These are products of specialisation and exchange.
So you would, part of globalisation is movement of peoples. You would not put restrictions on immigration.
I outline some limitations. I think if someone can offer someone a job, which means they won't be able to claim in-work benefits, then I don't see a problem. I've always been pretty liberal about immigration and specialisation and exchange.
Why shouldn't people who work here claim in-work benefits?
Well, why should we use public money to subsidise corporate payrolls so that they can import cheap labour and make for millions of people, Adam, outside London and studios like this, the minimum wage and maximum wage? That is the problem.
I mean, looking at the principle of your attack on political elites and the problem of elites, what you're really talking about is anarchy, isn't it? You're talking about people taking the money that they contribute through taxes for the National Health Service into their own account, the money they contribute for education into their own account.
Isn't it extraordinary, Adam,
so those statewide systems which have supported poor people as well as rich people, you want to dismantle those.
It's extraordinary, Adam, that you think allowing people to choose things, just as we go to supermarkets and choose things for ourselves, is anarchy. Come on, the idea of free choice and the idea of adults being given responsibility to make these decisions for themselves ought to be the mainstream currency of politics.
That's all very well, but if you simply have everybody taking decisions for yourselves...
Do you allow everyone to take decisions for themselves when they dress themselves?
Then those common structures which you built up will be deconstructed, won't they?
Allowing people to choose things for themselves is how most things work.
No, but let's talk about consequences. It's all very well saying people can choose. Consequences are people participate in the National Health Service. They participate in the state education system. If everybody just takes their money back and doesn't pay their taxes, the system will collapse.
I'm not saying people shouldn't pay their taxes. Of course people should pay their taxes.
No, you're saying they should reclaim their education. That's what it says here. They should reclaim. Everyone should have a legal right to claim the share of local education and the healthcare budget and spend it on rivals. That would mean there would be less going into the central system.
Would you allow me to maybe...
Well, no, I'm just...
Okay. At the moment, we've created a system where pets often get better primary care than people, because when a person wants primary care, they have to stand in line and wait because there's a monopolistic system.
That is a slogan. You are talking about dismantling the National Health Service.
No, I'm not. I'm talking about allowing people to have control over their money. It's their money, Adam. And the idea that politicians know best is the problem.
If they withdraw that, then that's less money for hospital trusts.
You talk about withdrawing. The money is theirs and should be spent on them in the first place. The whole point is it's there to serve their needs and meet their needs. The idea that politicians alone know what's best for people is why people are queuing in the NHS for waiting lists.
The 9 or 10% of people who send their children to private schools say, thank you very much, I'll take my money out of the health system and I'll spend it on private schools. That is less money for the state system.
I never said in the book that it should be used as a subsidy for public schools.
Well, no, but you say...
Do you have a read?
Yes, you do. You say people should be able to take their money out of local education and spend it as they want. Now, if they want to spend it as they want in private school, you say you're going to ban that?
If you read the book, you will find that I have safeguards to prevent this becoming a subsidy for public school. But at the moment, people who can't afford what rich people can afford don't have the same choices, and I think that is morally wrong.
Do you think you are a one-man elite?
I think there are millions of people across the country who are fed up with small elites in Westminster deciding that they can arrange their lives best for them.
OK, Douglas Carswell, thank you very much indeed. The book is called Rebel.
You didn't frankly have the balls to put country before party.